safe. We made it back from Detroit River, the Cabela's Masters Walleye Circuit event, my second event this year. And wow, once again, Detroit River and Lake Erie proves itself that it is the best walleye fishery in the world. Wow, pre-fish. I can't think of any other place I've been. The fishing, that was the best fishing I've ever experienced in my entire life. We could not have timed it any better. We got there the Friday before the tournament, and we were getting reports from locals. The fishing was good. You needed a massive bag to place in the Michigan Walleye Circuit's tournament. The fishing was just, I mean, it was good. There were some ice jams that had floated down river the day before and had jammed up certain parts of the river. The last bit of ice of Lake St. Clair, basically. Once that moved through, the fishing just really turned on and went for a huge uphill spike. Day one we got out, the water was 37 degrees and it was crystal clear. We caught a bunch of fish in the morning between 6 a.m. and about 9:30. The bite totally died after that. We really struggled to catch fish after 9:30 on the first day. So, you know, when we were going to bed that night, we're thinking, okay, this is what we're going to have to deal with all week. Little did we know, get up the next morning, launch the boat, bang, 50 pounds and 5 fish, first 5 fish. So, and I think everybody on the river that day would have weighed 50 pounds for 5 fish. It was just off the hook. It was unbelievable how good the fishing was that day, and all day. And that trend just kept getting better and better and better and better as the days kept going on. We just kept catching longer and bigger and fatter and heavier fish every single day during practice, and everybody on the river was doing the exact same thing. Monday, Tuesday rolls around, we start noticing that, okay, the sun's out every day, the water's getting a little dirtier, and it's definitely warming up. Now it's in the 40s, 41, 41 and a half, hit 42, you know, late afternoon. So these fish are going to be spawning here pretty soon. And what we started to notice was, whereas the Saturday, Sunday, I'd say 9 out of 10 fish, females we caught, were still hard and pre-spawn. Monday, Tuesday, we started noticing it was about 4 out of 10 fish still hard and pre-spawn. The rest of them were post-spawn, spawned out, real soft bellies, and I mean, they're long, 31, 32 inches, but they're substantially lighter than the fish we were catching in the previous days. So immediately we got to thinking, and we both unanimously said the same thing: we need to find colder water. You're gonna need 5 pre-spawn fish to win this thing. Now, it's Monday, Tuesday, we've already covered the whole American side of the river. We got our spots, we got that pretty much dialed in. First time for us on the Detroit River, we could fish the Canadian side, which was awesome. So we figured, okay, Wednesday, let's venture over there and try to dial in something over there and see what happens. We get over there, and first thing we notice, we're both staring at the graph, the water temperature is about 7-8 degrees colder in the spots we were fishing. On the Canadian side, the American side. We started fishing them, didn't catch fish at them all, but the ones we did catch fish on were tighter. Thursday, our last day of pre-fish, me and Derek both had our doubts about the lake. Just didn't think, you know, it could have been done on the lake just because the fishing was so phenomenal on the river. So we didn't really spend any time on the lake during practice, all on the river. So we had our American go-to spots, which are the dozen spots that everybody who lives 120 miles and owns a boat of Detroit, they know all those spots. So, and guys who fish there, so that we had all them spots. One thing that I thought we had as a bit in our back pocket was these Canadian spots. I didn't see many boats fishing them in practice, and you know, it was just pulling fish. A lot of quality fish are the Canadian spots. So we had that to go off, and we also had our American side spots. If they're there and we get them, great. If not, we're going to sit there until we can, as long as it's within our time frame. So we knew the fish were there. We knew how to get them. We just needed the fish to cooperate with us. Day one of the tournament, it's a funny story. We were all jacked and pumped at the rules meeting. We drew boat number 2 to leave the gate. So we're all jacked, high-fiving each other at the rules meeting, getting all pumped. thinking, oh, this is gonna be great. We're gonna be one of the first boats up there fishing. There was a lineup at the launch. It was Good Friday. Everybody and their brother and their aunts and uncles, everybody went fishing that day. So the lineup at the boat launch was phenomenal. We got held up. We didn't make the buzzer, and there was about a dozen of us who didn't. So we weren't able to leave second. So we ended up at the back of the pack somewhere, and we got up to our spot, which was at the tip of Fighting Island. No secret, we got there. Good Friday, literally 300 boats sitting on it. Thankfully, we popped a couple fish, in our first couple slides, and the bite kind of seemed the pressure. The boats, you wouldn't believe the amount of boats. I think all them boats just scattered the fish, and there was fish being caught there, and there's fish being caught over there, there's fish being caught over there, but I think the fish were really scattered due to the amount of boats on the river. We ended up hitting 3 spots day one, and we had our 5 fish before noon. It was just a matter of trying to see if we can get the last couple upgrades, which we did end up upgrading, but they weren't great upgraders. Like they went from 4 to 6.5 pounders. Had about an hour and a half left. Trenton always holds big fish, so we said, let's go die in Trenton. Let's kill our time there. We did. Of course, we couldn't catch a fish in Trenton, so we went to weigh. We weighed in our weight. We were 33 pounds, 34 pounds that day, which middle of the pack. I mean, due to the amount of boats out there that day, I mean, I was happy with that. Day 2 of the tournament, we really had to make a pretty stressful decision because of the amount of pressure in the upper end of the river. I wasn't sure if those fish would go back in stage where they were when we were catching them, or if because they're so spooked and scattered, if they're still spooked and scattered, and if fishing is going to suck that day because it was pressed on so hard the day before. Or go to Trenton and sit there all day like we have in the past and try to scrape up 5 fish. So I mean, we stuck to our game plan, ran into the upper part of the river. We scraped together 5 fish again. They were small though, most of them were males. The fishing was slow. I mean, it was about 2 o'clock when we got our 5th fish, and it was a grind. Weren't seeing much caught. Wasn't much action going on. Finally, we looked at each other and said, let's go down to Trenton and kill some time there. All week during practice, it was a south wind, and during the tournament, it was a north wind. So we get down to Trenton, and all of a sudden the wind switches and comes out of the south. The water starts to become a little choppy down there in the spot we were fishing, and we both just said we got to sit here until the buzzer goes. I mean, this south wind, this chop is exactly like it was in practice. And sure enough, after about half an hour, that wind coming and pounding in, it was just bang, bang, bang. We upgraded every fish. I mean, we didn't have big upgrades on this spot. I think we weighed in 28, 29 pounds. For small upgrades, but it was enough to justify the decision of going down the Trenton compared to the bag we were sitting on in the upper part of the river. Hats off to those guys who can fish in that pressure and catch fish and fish comfortably. There was a lot of boats on the river that weekend, and I mean, it was stressful to operate the boat. Me and Derek had to take turns. Couldn't do it for a long period of time because you're constantly getting stressed out. You're always worried about, what you gotta watch the wind, you gotta watch your 2 lines, you gotta watch your trolling motor. I mean, it's a lot of work up front, let alone having to worry about boats bumping into you. The hardest part about this tournament was focusing on not what's going on around you, but what's going on with you. The Detroit River can be so tricky because you could be making the exact same drift with the exact same jigs, exact same baits, same current speed, same jig stroke, everything as the boat beside you, and that guy's just pounding them and you're not catching nothing. This is where a lot of guys, myself included in the past, get really frustrated and try to focus more upon what are they doing different than me? I mean, what's their jig stroke? And I'm squinting in the sun trying to see what the color of their jig is. What plastic are they using? I mean, are their lines even vertical? Or are they dragging their jig? I mean, you can get so caught up in what other people are doing that it seriously affects your fishing abilities. Once you start focusing upon what you're doing, you know what works. You've caught fish on a chartreuse jig head and a brown Wyandotte worm in that river before, and you know what jig stroke to use. You just need to look down and focus on your rods and just stay focused and be patient and calm and don't get excited, because the minute you get excited and you change something from what that you know has worked in the past, or take your eyes up and worry about what's going on in the next boat, that could be your chance where you get bit by a 10-pounder. Anyways, bottom of the line is fantastic tournament, unbelievable fishery, and you know what? We finished halfway down the pack. Whatever, best fishing week of my life. That's going to be a tough trip to top. So next one for us is the NTC on Green Bay. God, I love Green Bay. It's one of my favorite fisheries. We had a 55-pound bag there last year. Hopefully we can pull it together again this year. Follow me on Facebook, and we'll see you in Green Bay.